Just living the dream, man.
Right? How's El Mexico?
Dude, it was so nice. Gosh, it was so nice.
Nice.
Then I come back to Utah and it freaking snows the next day.
We've been so in the last 3 weeks, let's see. 2 weeks ago it snowed a foot and a half. Last Wednesday it was -36. It was -18 at my house the morning we left for Expo. We just got a flood warning.
Oh my gosh. Is it hot
It'll
there?
be 50. It'll be 50 degrees by the end of the week.
Holy crap, that's wild. Dang. Dude,
Welcome to Montana.
send some of that water down south, man. We need it.
I don't know if you can really see out the window.
Oh, it's adjusting. Hold on a sec. Give it a sec. Oh, there we go. Jeez. Dude, you do have a pile out there.
I got 14 inches of snow that's compressed. You know, that's our current snowpack down low is 14 inches.
Wow.
And
wow.
It's like right now it's 43, 44 degrees, sunny.
Gosh.
Not supposed to get below freezing at night for the next 4 days.
Send that our way, man. We need some water down here. We're so freaking dry. I mean, even the snow that we got on whatever it was, Monday or Tuesday, like it's gone. Like I mean, it's still wet out there, but it's not, there's no snow left.
Yeah. Molly, get on your bed. On your bed. Come on. Lay down.
How was the expo?
Dude, it was busy. Like,
was it?
This year, so typically it's like Thursdays, a lot of tire kickers, people looking, you know, hey, we're here all weekend, we'll buy Saturday or whatever. Right. Thursday, there's still a little bit of that, but it was basically double what we did the year prior.
Wow.
Friday was almost triple what we did last year, but there was also a lot of people. Like Friday was a big buy day for a lot of people, but then there's still that, tire kicker.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, Saturday is just going to be, huge. Saturday was the same as Friday.
Wow.
Like it was busier than Friday, but the sales were the same. So I'm just using the sales.
Yeah. Looking at sales numbers.
Right? We did like $400 more on Saturday than we did on Friday, which typically Saturday's like double Friday. But then Sunday was almost as good as Friday.
Really? Because normally Sunday, like, it just drops off. No one ever goes on Sunday.
Yeah. Sunday's like the day that, we get to go around and, chat with people and buy the stuff that we want to get. And we couldn't start really walking around. Like, it was packed all the way up to about 2:30.
Wow. Dang.
It was insane.
That's
I think
nuts.
some of it might have been with the President's Day being on Monday. We had a bunch of people come through late Saturday night that were like, we just got here. We're just doing a hot lap.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. The President's Day being on Monday, probably everybody had it off so they could stay the whole day Sunday and travel home on Monday rather than normally traveling home on Sunday. That makes sense. Yep. Dang, I mean, that's crazy, dude.
The local Utahns were still, Saturday was their big day.
Right. That's usually the main day that I go to. Well, I usually go Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I don't usually go on Sunday, mainly for that reason, because no one's ever there. And like all the booth people are walking around different booths. You never catch anybody. So that's nuts, man.
Dude, it was good. We sold 45 of the vinyl harnesses. So
wow.
That was good. Just about every gal that tried it on.
Yeah.
Walked. I think there was like 4 ladies. I shouldn't just say girls, 4 ladies that I think they were the only ones that tried it on. And like we walked into this, not just because life's been so busy, right? We hadn't really done any posting on it, no like real advertising plans. So we took some the SCI Utah booth right next to us. We took some of their flyers, flipped them over because they were blank, and wrote women's vinyl harness and our booth number on it. I went and stuck it on columns around the building.
Nice.
And it worked. I mean, these girls come walking up, you could just tell, like, these were dudes.
Yep. Dude, that's awesome, though. But, I mean, you think about it. A woman coming in there and be like, okay, this is a vinyl harness specifically for women. Because they hate it. I mean, my wife does anyway. She's like, it just does not fit the boobs right, And so to actually have one that fits them, that's a big deal for a woman.
It was huge. I mean, almost every gal we tried it on. Basically, if we could get someone to try it on,
it was a done deal, huh?
Yeah, it was
Wow.
done. You just see like, especially, you get the bottom tightened up, and because we were fitting it to him, we tell him, hey, hold it on your chest, kind of like in a sports bra position.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd get the bottom buckles tightened up, and then I'd come around the front and I'd cinch up the tops, and you just see their eyes go, holy crap, this is amazing.
Oh yeah. That's freaking awesome. I like your shirt there. I got a podcast with him coming up on Monday. With
nice. Make sure you give Austin tons of crap.
Oh yeah. Do you know him?
I know. We our first expo, actually, we got stuck right next to each other.
Ah, okay.
In 10x10 booths. So we've kind of turned into really good friends.
Nice.
He's actually talking about coming out and hunting with us this fall. So
yeah, obviously I didn't make it to the expo, but I just following up on stuff. I always like to look and see like what's new. And I saw his new boiler that he came out with. Yeah. And I was like, oh, dude, that's cool. I just want to ask you about it. I was like, well, we might as well hit record while I ask you the questions I want to ask you. So he's like, let's do it. So he seems like a cool dude.
Yeah, no, Austin's a great guy. He's just good, down home to earth, Southern.
Nice.
From Missouri. But
nice.
He's great. That macerator. If I didn't have a buddy that basically I just hand him my euros and he hands them back to me.
Yeah.
I'd definitely be into that. But
I think I'm going to get me one, because there's like around here, I mean, there's no real taxidermist. You have to go up to like Provo to really find somebody good, or clear down to St. George by St. George to get somebody really good. And so I thought, man, I might get one of those. That way I don't have to travel so far. By the time you spend, a couple $100 on a euro, you can buy one of those things pretty quickly. So yeah, I'll probably pick one up from him.
If you're doing 4 to 5 euros, or even if you have a bunch of buddies, like if there's 3 of you in a group, $200 each.
Yep.
250, 225. I think it's
750. I think
7. Yeah.
Yeah.
Each. That's like 275 each.
Yeah.
That's 2 seasons worth of euro mounts.
Exactly.
If you're killing two things with horns every year.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I was like. That's because I was texting with my buddy. I'm like, that's kind of like a no-brainer right there. It pays for itself really quickly, and it's freaking cool for one. So
yeah, and it'll fit all the way up to a moose too. Like, yeah, it's a bit. I was like, dude, you should make this into like a cooler or like a shrimp boiler too, so you can like multi-use it.
Yeah. Boil a skull and then boil some shrimp and call it good, man.
Get a little extra flavor.
That's right. I need to get some of his boot dryers too. I watch Gritty, and he's always talking about his boot dryers. So I don't mean to make this podcast about Grexop, but I
love those. I will shamelessly plug Austin's boot dryers.
Yeah.
I used them in Arizona this year. Like, I used them in my summer antelope hunts. They're phenomenal. They're amazing.
Also, going to Alaska this year, I got 2 trips to Alaska this year. I'm like, man, the one trip I've done up there, I was wet the entire time. In fact, I had to use a buddy's boots because mine got so soaked. I'm like, if I would have had those, it would have dried. I could have dried them out and been as good as new. But
they're great for that. I was also like, I've used them before too. Like, once I get meat down, circulate air around my meat.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I mean, it even like keeps flies off of it.
Yeah. Oh, it's like having a breeze across it. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's a portable fan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and even if you just get hot, just hang it up in the top of on top of the tent and let it blow down on you.
Yeah, I was like, dude, just make a little puck that goes into the top of your game bag, and the boot dryer goes in it, and then it can either blow or suck out, whichever way you want to face it, to help cool the meat off faster.
That's a good idea, man. I like that you multi-purposing this thing. Not quite the entrepreneur you are.
Hey, again, all of our stuff, right? We're multi-use.
That's right.
Everything we design is for do it however the hell you want to.
It's a bugle tube holder and it's a can koozie at the same time.
It will actually hold one of these. I got my basic white grill on.
Oh man, yeah, you do. Is that a Stanley?
No, this is what is this? It's the the Hydrate Co. I don't know.
So you're not from Utah. If it was Utah, it'd be Stanley.
Josh.
Oh yeah, I've had him on the podcast.
Yeah, they launched these. I love his Geo Elk. That logo is so cool.
That is a cool logo. He's such a cool dude, man. He's just a bro, like just a genuine cool dude.
Yeah, he's potentially also. We may have quite the crew coming to Montana this year if everyone draws. So
Oh, really? Dang.
it's going to be fun It's going to be a fun time. I'm hoping.
Nice.
I'm like, great. Well, our summer vacation fell through. Looks like I'm taking a week off to go elk hunting.
We're going hunting. Oh, shoot, man. Well, let's talk some archery. Let's get into this a little bit, dude. I've been looking forward to this podcast ever since our last podcast. And dude, I know we're going to talk about like the basics of archery, but I've had so many questions come in about like some of the stuff that we ended that podcast with. Like, well, one is definitely the broadheads, like that just lit a spark and a fire under a bunch of people. Some people love the Q80s, but I'm going to tell you, man, there's some of them like, I don't know about the Q80s. So
we all have our own experiences with everything.
That's right.
And on the point of the intro to archery, right? Like this.
Yeah, let's get into it.
I have one. So it's all different price points, right? Like the big thing. I'm going to scoot back so you can kind of see it here. So if you want to decide you want to shoot archery and you've never done it before, a real cheap, easy way to get into it's a recurve.
Yeah.
So a trad bow. This is a breakdown. What company is this?
I was gonna say, what is that? Let's tell everybody what that is.
It's a Fleetwood archery. I believe it's the Rock River. It has 2 screws, so you can take the limbs down, and it's got 40-pound limbs on it. And so with a recurve, it doesn't have cams, so the 40-pound limbs are at 28 inches of draw.
Okay.
So this will go. There's no cams. There's no let off. You have to draw with fingers. But it's $150.
That's what I was just looking up to see what I could get it on at Shills, and yet $159 on at Shills.
Yeah, super cheap. It's really easy. The one thing when you do shoot a recurve though, because it doesn't have the arrow rest. So on this one there is no. It's just a shelf.
Oh yeah.
It's a shelf cut into the grip.
So you put the old finger.
Yeah, you can put the little thing on there. The fletchings these are synthetic feathers, but they need to be this soft, flexible material. You can tell I've kind of ripped a chunk off my pad here.
Because you used a vein on it?
Yeah, I was shooting my heavy elk hunting arrows out for my compound bow, and it just started destroying.
Oh yeah.
So it's a trad bow fletching, basically. Anything that's hitting that, because these fletchings, you can see how I can run my fingers through them, and they collapse and then they come back. So as that arrow, releases and passes on the load shelf, so typically it's cock feather out, which is off feather. I don't know.
I always call it cock feather.
Hands. That's better. There we go. So the way I have mine set up is that it's knock below my knock point, because I like to shoot with 3 fingers under. Some people, originally I was taught 2 under, 1 over. Joel Turner teaches a thumb hook.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's almost like a thumb pinch.
Oh, to anchor it.
Yeah, for an anchor point. It works, but I'm more comfortable with 3 under, so I can push that up hard against. Knock point on these, or your anchor point, is I'm looking down the arrow, and a lot of that it takes a little bit more. So I'll say it's
flip around and pull that back again, so people can see where you're anchoring that too.
So the way I learned with trad bow was I didn't necessarily knock; it was more of a pull and shoot and follow through at the same time. So I cant my bow a little bit. That keeps me from having to put my finger on the arrow. And then with my fingers here, I have I wear a 3-finger glove. Some people shoot with finger tabs.
Yeah.
It's just a protective layer, because this will rub your fingers raw. I go on you can see the first 3 lines on my knuckles up here. That's where the string goes. And you always you'll kind of roll it into your bow. So as I'm pulling back, the string is actually twisting. I don't know how well you can see that in the camera, but you twist the string.
Twisting within the knock.
Yeah, the string is rotating.
Yeah.
And you rotate it back into the riser of the bow to help keep the arrow from. So you see a lot of people when they pull back, they start doing like this.
Yeah, and it falls off.
It's in your grip. If you change that and apply pressure to where you're pulling the riser,
into it,
keeps the arrow from flipping off.
Gotcha. Well, I always knew about the cantiness, so that it's canted, so it's rested in there, so it doesn't flop off. But that I actually didn't know that you can pull that and pull it into the bow.
And I mean, I'm not saying it's not much of a twist. It's just you're putting a little bit of pressure with this part of your finger right here.
Okay.
And that is just giving it a little bit of tension up against your riser.
Gotcha.
So then the way I shoot, so I'm pulling back and my anchor point's my cheekbone.
Okay.
So the traditional, like Robin Hood, looking down the arrow.
Coming right into there.
Yep. I put the shaft of the arrow is right here. I have an anchor point with my thumb that I'll go kind of behind my cheekbone there. And I'll get to there and I'll hook that cheekbone, settle in, find my holdover, and follow through.
Gotcha.
And when you follow through, because I'm shooting 3-finger, it's like you're wiping something off your face. So it's, wipe the ketchup off your face, wipe the sweat off your face. You just anchor and wipe through. That gives you a straight follow through, and it's keeping that face contact so you're not doing this.
Yeah.
Any of this outside any movement here changes your point of impact drastically 30 yards downrange.
Right.
Now, so this is the easiest and cheapest way to get into shooting archery, but it's also the hardest way to get proficient.
See, and that's what's funny is because I feel like, well, a lot of people want to get into archery, and the sexy thing is the compound bow. It's like, oh, that's what Cam Haynes shoots, or whoever, they're Eva Shockey, whatever. It's like that's the sexy thing to do. It's funny, people jump straight into compound bow. Then I feel like most of us are shooting compound bow for a while. Then like, no, I want to go back to trad bow. But you're right. If you did it the opposite way, one, it's cheaper to get into it, and I think there's some fundamentals that you can learn with a trad bow that you can apply to a compound bow as well.
Yeah, so I started, I started shooting a bow way back when I was a kid. I had the old, Golden Eagle Brave with 2 tiny cams.
Yes.
But before that, we had old fiberglass recurves, longbows. We even play archery tag with recurves.
Right.
It teaches a basic fundamental, and the real fundamental is anchor point and follow through.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the two, because with a trad bow, it will expose any flaw in your release or your anchor point, because one, you're not going to have drawn it far enough to get the same launch, because there is no, the cam doesn't break over and you're not relying on technology anymore. This is stick and string archery.
Yeah. I learned the value of anchor points from a trad bow, because I've been shooting. Yep. Same with you. I started with just a normal bow as a little kid, but then I think I got my first compound bow. And I've said it on the podcast before, so I'm going to probably contradict myself. But, I probably would have been 9 or 10 when I got my first compound bow.
Yeah, as soon as you were strong enough to start pulling some weight and growing into hunting.
Yeah. But I felt like, and I know with the compound bow, I got to the point where I just pulled back and shoot. And I didn't think about anchor point, like exactly where everything's sitting, whatever, whichever release I'm using, until I started using a trad bow again. And then I was like, if you don't use an anchor point with a trad bow, you're not you can't hit the pie plate. The compound bow has enough technology to it. For the most part, 20, 30 yards, you're still going to hit the pie plate, even though you want to get down to a silver dollar or whatever. But learning that from shooting a trad bow was super valuable to me, which I wish I would have had all the years I started with a compound bow.
Yeah, I call it the struggle stick. When I'm when my groups at 80 with my compound bow aren't as tight as I want to, which is typically if I can keep 6 arrows within 8 inches, I'm happy with my compound. If I'm starting to wander, I'll go back to the struggle stick, and it is a different follow through, different technique, but it's just reiterating my shot processes, and it forces me to start thinking about it again. Then I go back to the compound, and I'm in that mindset of I need to think about my anchor, I need to think about my string angles, my contact points, and my follow through. It's all just a tool. So if you want to, don't be frustrated when, I bird hunt with this.
Mm-hmm.
I will probably never big game hunt with a trad bow.
I'm the same way. I would never actually go, like, if I get an archery tag, I'm not going to take a trad bow. It's just that there's too many advantages of a compound bow that it just makes sense to use it. But I do think, and if you think about any sport, I know a lot of people like, oh, well, archery is not sport. It is. At the end of the day, it really is. But if you think about any sport,
in the Olympics.
Exactly. It's
an Olympic sport, and they're shooting 70 meters with trad bows.
Exactly. But it's
they have sight pins, but
yeah. But it's like golf, or baseball or anything. if you want to be the best at it, whether you're Tiger Woods or whoever, you've got to, they still go back to the basics of what is their grip on a golf club, or what is their swing through, whatever the case may be, they're still going back to the basics. And so archery is no different in my mind. Go back to, I like the struggle stick, by the way. That's what I'm going to call it from now on. Go back to the struggle stick and practice those fundamentals. It'll improve your compound bow game.
Yeah, it'll improve all your game. And I mean, it's fun. I mean, we will go out and we'll play, in the summer we play a game called Archery Pong.
Oh, nice.
It's
is it beer pong with archery?
You set a target up and you draw the cup diagram. You have to call your cup and you shoot your arrow into the cup hole. And if you get the arrow in the hole, then they got to pull and drink their cup back here.
Love it.
We started playing it with compounds at 40 yards and we were just like lights out, right? And then all of a sudden we're 2 games deep and we're starting to skip arrows and it's getting expensive. And we're like, yeah, let's bring that into about 15 yards. And let's not put an arrow through my neighbor's window. He's 400 yards away, but the way the compounds can skip them.
I know
it's just a fun screw around.
It really is. That's fun. I got to stop this podcast for a minute though, because I never noticed your tattoo on your arm, dude. You gotta show us that tattoo.
So this is funny story.
Wow, dude.
It's a full sleeve. It's my only tattoo currently.
Are you gonna fill it in?
Yeah, it goes.
Dang.
So this is. Everyone's gonna laugh at me and call me a poser. My wife found. So
pull your mic around.
Oh, sorry.
There you go.
How's that?
You're better.
Better.
That's better.
So we have 2 Arizona bulls hanging in the house right now.
Mm-hmm.
My one from last year.
Yeah.
And then my wife, when she was working down there, had found this 260-inch 5-point deadhead. And that's the bull that we've had forever. And a buddy of mine who used to tattoo here in Missoula had moved to Germany and was coming back specifically for a tattoo trip.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, okay. And I always told him, like, when I get my first tattoo is going to be done by you. I just, whenever it happens. And he came back this summer before my Arizona trip. And I had sent him this. Is like, dude, I want to do a skull. I want to do the bull. And I was originally thinking doing like just a forearm, kind of a
just
smaller
like a
scale.
One right here. Yeah.
Yeah, just something smaller. And I walked into the parlor that morning. I got it. And he's got, this templated out. He's like, hear me out. It's a skull. It's gorgeous. It's awesome. No one ever does these in the correct proportion. Mm-hmm. This is the right proportion. Let's do a sleeve. And I went, yeah, let's template that on there. And we got it templated. I snapped a picture to my wife and I was like, this is what I'm doing. She's like, that's freaking amazing.
Oh, really? Oh, she was all about it, huh?
Yeah. But I don't know if you can really see the detail that Matt was able to get in here. His name's Matt Reisman.
Wow. Yeah. You can see all the suture lines and everything in the skull.
The work on this he did was phenomenal.
I don't know why I didn't notice that on the last podcast. I'm sure you had it out there. I just didn't pay attention to what it was.
I think I was wearing that baseball tee too.
Oh, were you? Okay.
I think I had sleeves on.
I can't say. Well, as you sit there, I can see like the antlers coming around your bicep there, and I've been like kind of gawking at it this whole time. So I was like, I got to stop this this podcast and ask him about
it. I jokingly called it redneck tribal.
I think it's awesome, dude. Anyways, I didn't mean to get us off. Oh, I did actually. That's a lie. I did mean to get us off topic, but I just had to see it because that's cool.
No, it would have been better if this would have been able to be the bull I shot this year. But he's in Germany. The timing of it is like this. This is what we're doing.
There's still some skin there, man. I mean, just kind of figure out how to make this a full,
I'm
filled
also
sleeve.
Thinking about either this arm, or if I could somehow tie it like here,
coming up the side and up the arm up here.
Yeah, bring that other bull up to make it look like they're maybe sparring.
Yeah,
he's coming back next summer. I'm sure I'll spend another $1,500.
I was gonna say they're not cheap, so you got to be careful with what you're doing.
Especially, it's like, here, sit down for 8 hours in the chair and let's just hammer this out.
It was 8 hours, huh?
Yeah, one session.
Wow, that's crazy.
It was burly, and it was actually during the time Missoula had a giant windstorm, and we were out of power for 5 days.
Man.
So I hadn't luckily the tattoo parlor had power and AC, and that was like it. I didn't even have running water at the house anymore.
Oh man. Oh, that's
it all worked
crazy.
out.
That's crazy. That's cool. Anyways, all right. So back to trad bows.
Back to archery.
Yeah.
Okay, so we touched on the trad bow. The trad bow, it's a great way to get into it. It's a great way to continue to have fun and be kind of a training aid. I personally won't hunt with them because the speeds are not what I can get, and I hunt to harvest. It's kind of like fly fishing versus spin casting.
Yeah.
A little bit. There's different comparisons of that throughout even the hunting world. Like I say, archery hunting to me is fly fishing. Period. Rifle is spin casting because I'm spin casting to catch and
Yeah.
for
Put
food
me
on the table. I'm
yeah.
archery hunting for the experience.
Yeah.
Go one step further in the archery world, trad bow is more like fly fishing, and compound is more like spin casting because I'm more lethal with higher speeds with the same heavyweight arrow. Like
Exactly.
most hunting arrows for trad bow are going to be in that 550 to 700 grain range with a big single bevel cut on contact broadhead because they're maybe going 180 feet per second.
Right.
Maybe. And they're dropping off fast because it's just how much can you pull back? I mean, at 31-inch draw, I think that 40-pound limb is pulling like 54 pounds.
Gotcha.
So it's not a lot of weight there.
Yeah. Well, I'm also, to me, it's also precision too, like, with my compound bow, really, honestly, at 40, 50 yards, it's a silver dollar, like that's really what you're aiming for, or even smaller than that, even down to a quarter. Whereas with a trad bow, you can't do it. There's not I guess like you said, in the Olympics they do have sights and stuff that they put on, but for the most part, trad bows, you don't have the sights. You're looking down that arrow for your aiming point, and you just don't have the precision.
Over everything else. I mean, with this bow, even like target practice, I can maybe put 5 arrows in 8 inches at 40 yards, maybe.
And that's pretty good, Ethan. I mean, if you're doing that, man, you're shooting pretty dang good.
Yeah, that's like if I shoot this religiously 15 to 20 shots a day for a month straight, I bring that grouping back in just because I've shot it so much. It's not like my compound where I picked it up for the first time at Christmas, not having touched it since my Arizona hunt, and put 6 arrows in the 10 ring at 95 yards.
Exactly.
That's a sniper rifle. This is a shotgun.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's a good way to look at it. But they all both have their uses and their principles, and I love it. I'm glad that we started with that because that is a great way to start getting into archery. It's a cheaper way for one, but then it teaches fundamentals. And a lot of people, when they grab a compound bow, they'll go out to 80 yards and just start flinging arrows. And trad bow, you can't do that. You've got to figure out what your 10-yard mark is. You got to figure out what your 15-yard mark. You kind of have to start taking those steps.
It's okay. So if I'm looking straight down my arrow and looking at that point, and I'm holding it, at what distance am I a straight on hold? And then at what distance, okay, so for me, my straight on hold is 25 yards.
Oh, wow.
Because I have a long draw. So okay, 25 yards, bang. If I'm 25 yards, that's where I'm aiming. If I'm aiming 20, I actually have to start holding lower. And then at 30, like at 40 yards, I'm literally putting the tip, because it's all still, I'm sighting down the shaft. So you aim, get your spot on the target where you want to hit, and then you start putting the arch in archery and gauging, okay, I know at 40 yards, I need to be holding on a 2-foot target. I have a foot of drop.
Yeah.
And then it's still, you can see with the amount of shoulders and everything else that goes into that really will teach you your shoulder lean. That comes into play on steep angles. And you're not really, you're on flat ground, but you're like, I got a sender.
Hey, before we move away from them, and maybe you know this, maybe you don't, because I don't know this. Like, as far as different quality of trad bows and the money that you can spend on them, I mean, I probably spent $200 on mine. But can you spend a whole lot more than that? Are there some really expensive ones? Are there?
If you start getting into customs, the name is blanking me right now. My buddy Boone, my taxidermist buddy, he has one. It's a gorgeous custom wood longbow. It's got antler tip on the top for the string notches. I think he doesn't have rattlesnake grip, but they make one that has like a rattlesnake inlay on the back.
That'd be cool.
Dude, you can get an $10,000 trad bow real fast.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, there are some companies out there that make custom like walnut, ivory, not ivory. There are actually some that have ivory in them. A lot of them are like elk ivories or, ethically harvested ivory tips.
You got to be one bad mamma jamma to be shooting a $10,000 trad bow. Holy cow.
Yeah. For me, that's like, I mean, it's just like rifles, right?
Yeah.
$10,000 rifle, $10,000 trad bow, just one you can only shoot 40 yards.
That's the thing. If you're spending $10,000 on a rifle, you're getting a pretty freaking impressive rifle. You know what I mean? A trad bow, like, you can only get so awesome.
Yeah, but they are. I mean, and all of them have each different wood species has different retraction capabilities. So their snap. Like this one is a fiberglass with a walnut handle, but the limbs are fiberglass with an inlay.
That's how mine is.
So it's got, man-made spring to it. Whereas when you get into the actual wood, you have to go to a different each species has tighter grains, longer grains, different wood fibers, etc. And that whole rabbit hole can take you into some awesome place. I actually had a buddy of mine who shot his first archery kill. He's a native. He's an Indian up here.
Mm-hmm.
He shot a doe this year. It's his first archery kill ever with a trad bow that he made.
Okay, I'm gonna retract my statement of never hunting big game with a bow. If I ever did a doe hunt, I might do that with a trad bow.
Well, because he made it. He's like, I'm gonna do it. I need to. And he's got a 650 grain arrow going 150 feet per second.
That's awesome. Did he only shoot it once?
Yeah, it was actually frontal. He got enough penetration to kill it. It was like 13. He's like, she was like 10 feet away. Like she didn't see him walking down the trail to him.
Oh my gosh.
Bam, he got her. And sorry, my wife's texting me.
That's all right. We talked about that on the last podcast, man. You got to take care of the wife before anything else.
Yeah, and she's at work and she's calling me. So I'm assuming she either was wondering if I got home and fed the dogs in time because I went to the gym before this, or maybe she got off work earlier and wanted to go grab a drink or something. I don't know.
Oh, gotcha. Nice.
Anyways,
all right, let's keep rolling here. So next up, let's jump into kind of starting out in compounds.
So now we're going to go to compounds. This bow, this is the PSE Stinger Max.
Oh yeah.
So this is, there's a lot of, as a price point bow, it has a ton of adjustability. So this one goes from, I believe it's 23 inches draw length all the way up to 30. And it'll go from 20 to 70 pound pull.
That's pretty impressive for a bow to be able to go that far.
In their cam down here, you can see all of these different draw length adjustments.
Dang.
So you move the screw. Right now, I think I have this set at like 24 for teaching young kids how to shoot. And it's the old style. It's a screw-in limb that adjusts your weight. So you got to make sure you have each one screwed accordingly. This is a bow that I picked up for cheap, and I've kind of built it out to make it easier to teach people how to shoot with. I have just a real cheap front stabilizer on it, 8-inch stabilizer. I went with the Whisker Biscuit. I do not like Whisker Biscuits for hunting, but for teaching and just, because it's a full contain.
I used one for a long time, man. I was a Whisker Biscuit guy for a long. Because it was easy, It was just It was foolproof.
Until you start shooting hot enough, and after 100 shots, you're starting to group weird.
Yep.
I put on this one. I have the Trophy Pin, the Trophy Ridge 4-pin React sight.
Nice.
So this one is you zero your top pin wherever you want it. So this one I believe is 10 yards to 40 yards. So I zero my top pin at 10 by moving my housing. Then on the top here, it's just got an Allen key. That machine, with the machine screw, adjusts all of these at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
It's super quick to go from, change draw lengths, change draw weight for somebody. We sight it in at 10 or 20, depending on what they're pulling, step them out to 40. Bang, in about 15 minutes, we have, decent grouping to where we can go through and actually start shooting.
That's awesome. Is this the bow did you start with this bow, or is this one that you've picked up just for teaching people?
This is one I picked up. My first bow was actually a Hoyt Raider.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you told me that last time. That's right. I remember that.
if you listen to enough of our other podcasts
That's
that
right.
I've done, you hear how much smack I talk about Hoyt. My first bow was actually a Hoyt Raider, and then I went to a PSE Dakota, and then a Matthews Q2, then the Monster Chill, then the VXR, and now the Lift. So
Yeah.
But then I picked this one up, one, because at a 30-inch draw, I am a 31, but I can still, in a pinch, I could slap this thing together, make some adjustments, and I could be hunting with this bow.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a backup, kind of not.
Well, it's a good bow to have around though, because I don't know about you, but I've always got people, like I've got a buddy here, that lives in the same town I do, that wants to get an archery, and it is hard for him to grab my bow and try to shoot it. Where if I had that sitting here on the bench, then I could just hurry and adjust it for his settings, and boom, away he goes.
Well, and this too has, so Trophy Ridge came out with, try to get this close to the camera. So this is a no-type peep sight.
Oh yeah, yeah, yep.
It is a little hard on strings, but as long as it's with this being a, typically I'm teaching kids with this, so it's a low enough weight, I can compress the limbs myself, take a little pressure off, and this just slides up. That cross holds it in position, so I can just quickly in the field adjust the peep sight and it stays in place.
Gotcha.
So that, with the compound bow, unlike the recurve or the trad bow, we have so many more parts and pieces with this to make. Now you can take a bow, a compound bow, throw a rest on it. You can. I shot with fingers for a long time until I got a release. You could shoot these with fingers. You can shoot them with just a D loop and a rest, and just good old fashioned instinctive shoot it. Joel Turner's also doing that right now.
I was gonna say, he's doing it, and he's doing well.
His D loop's 2 inches long, just so he can maintain that anchor point and cut loose. It's just like, dude, that is. He's pretty good at it, but I'm like, I'm not sponsored for arrows, so
right. Well, and
I like hitting where I aim.
That's the thing. He took it to tack without a sight on. I don't know if you watched that video, but man, he was blowing up arrows left and right.
Oh, I talked to him about it at Big Sky.
Did you?
He jumped into our booth during one of the deluges, and I was like, dude, you're some type of man, Joel. Like,
man, I mean, hey, yeah, if you got arrows that you just given to you, feel free. But dang,
I mean, his son Bodie, he just shot a 328X with a freaking Mission.
Wow.
Like the little kids' bows that they do at the shooting thing. Somebody had handed him one that had some, like, it was pulling like 40 pounds. It had a big front stabilizer on it and 2 Vs, and he shot a freaking 328X.
That's crazy. That kid is unreal, man. He is a natural, unreal shot.
Flat out shoots. Like, amazing shot, because he has everything is the same every single time. And that is, talking about that exposing it, this exposes it at distance.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly it. Well, and
when you have,
go ahead.
No, you go.
I was gonna say, and the accuracy, even not even just at distance, but even up close, because when you're trying to kill an animal, you've got to be pretty precise, and so if you're off on any of those, you're gonna miss. You could miss what you're trying to hit, and all you're doing is wounding an animal. Yeah,
you could be, if you're a foot back because you weren't anchored correctly, and it doesn't take much. Like my brother, for instance, kind of one thing I wanted to touch on too, with now that we're into the compounds, there's so many different styles of compounds. My brother's 6'1", I'm 6'2". I have a 31-inch draw. He's only a 28.5-inch draw. But we're still taller in humans.
Right.
He's shooting a triax. Matthews triax. So it's a short axle-to-axle bow. So his string angle is super steep for his height. He needs a bigger bow. He needs a longer axle-to-axle. Axle-to-axle is from this axle to this axle. What is that measurement?
Cam to cam.
Cam, center of cam to center of cam. The axles of the cams to the axles of the cams. I don't remember what this one is off the top of my head.
Oh, I had it here.
I know this one's 33 inches. This is
that's your lift.
And you can tell that this bow is quite a bit taller.
Yeah.
So this bow for me sits better. It's more stable. I can have a better grip on it, and my string angle is better. The reason I bring string angle into this, draw this back, try not to blow my string.
Don't let it off.
I was like, I'm not going to do this, but I'll do it with it. So you can see how my nose is touching my string.
Yeah.
So to me, there's 3 different anchor points when you're shooting a compound bow. First one we have, and I'll grab my release. I shoot a thumb release. I also have we'll go over release styles here in a minute. But so I shoot a finger with a thumb barrel. It's not a back tension. It's a click and go. Anchor points on this are my knuckles, go into my jawbone.
Mm-hmm.
That the top two knuckles anchor right here into the corner of my jaw. That's anchor point 1. Anchor point 2 is the tip of my nose is touching my string like that.
And it's just barely touching. That's another thing. People try to like jab it into it.
Like this.
Right. Give yourself the pig nose.
Not a ton of face pressure, etc. It's just I'm resting on it so I can feel it, and it comes right through, right across here. So where the center part of your nose ties into your nostril. There's just a nice little groove there, and you're just setting on it so it's consistent pressure.
Mm-hmm.
The third anchor point is looking through your peep sight and centering your sight housing in your peep sight. And as long as I try to find a peep sight and sight housing combo. I think I shoot a 3/16. I don't have the quarter. I shoot 3/16. Peep sight, because it's the same sizing as my housing, so I don't have any light. I can just see there's a white ring on the inside of my my sight that I can see that, and as long as that's equal all the way around, I know I'm centered. If you're shooting a bigger peep sight, you're going to see a little bit of light around it, but you want to make sure you have equal light all the way around.
See, I'm trying to look what I think I do shoot a quarter if I remember right, but now I got to look at it.
Quarters are, it's a pretty big hole.
It is. It's a pretty good size. Maybe it's not. I'm trying to remember. I had to grab my bow so I could remember what I've got.
Yeah, and I think the smallest that goes, we get into 30 seconds.
Yeah. Oh no, mine's not a quarter. Mine's a 3. It got to be.
Yeah, you're in the threes.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. So those are the 3 anchor points for a compound bow. So you start adding all these additional factors of things you need to remember.
Does this bring back good memories to you, by the way?
I miss my VXR. Jed's still shooting it, so I got to touch it.
Oh, that's right. So you still get to see it. That's right.
Yeah, I still get to see it. But I will say though, like,
I know. I know. I've got to bite the bullet.
There's a reason I switched.
I've got to bite the bullet and go with the lift. Get the lift X. But
yeah. So, anyways, back to this bow. It's a shorter ATA, highly adjustable, so that like a kid getting into archery, you could buy this bow. It's you can find these packets for like $400, $450.
Yeah, I was just looking on Bass Pro. You can get it for $450. It's 30 inches, by the way, ATA.
Yep. So a full hunting, that's a ready to hunt setup too for $450.
Yes.
That's a quiver, a sight, a release. I think they have a stabilizer and a wrist strap on it too. That's the bow out the door, and then you have to buy arrows and a release to shoot. But that is my sight costs $650
exactly
on this bow. So, I'm helping a buddy of mine right now. He wants to get into archery. We're trying to figure out a way to, he likes hunting. He's shot, trad bows. He shot this bow a little bit. He likes it, so he knows that he likes it, so he's willing to spend a little bit more, but not drop $3,000.
Yeah.
Type of deal. So like this is so Bear makes one that's hyper adjustable. They're I just helped a guy through the First Hunt Foundation actually.
Oh, nice. Well, an Elite has one too. I think Elite makes, I think it's called the Ember or something like that. That's a really highly adjustable bow that you can have, Well, and the good thing, while you're looking that up, the great thing about this for those of you listening or watching is that, you can buy this bow and you can have it for a long time, or you can buy it for one of your kids, and your kids could have this thing from the time they're little kids for the rest of their life if they wanted to.
Yep. So this is the Bear Legit Max is the one that he's interested in.
That's right.
It's in that $400 price range. The Diamond Edge is again one of those highly adjustable ones.
Yeah.
And what I actually like seeing is there's a couple that did the School of Hard Knocks with us down in Soldier Hollow last year. his wife super wanted to get into bow hunting because she used to hunt as a kid, wants to get back into it so they can go out hunting. And they just had a daughter, and she bought one of the highly adjustable bows because it fits her better for being a smaller framed archer.
Mm-hmm.
But then by the time the kids get older, she can get a new bow and hand it down.
Exactly.
So it's the adjustability technology in these is huge for the price point, and just to help people get in there and go out there and enjoy shooting archery with each other. Like it's fun. My wife's bow is the same. She's got the Vision, which is the older version of the Stinger.
Uh-huh.
That one I originally bought for a backup bow for myself, and then we just turned it into her because she was getting mad at me for doing all the. She'd go to draw her bow. She tried to draw it once, and I think I had it maxed at 70 pounds and 30 inches because I was shooting it or my brother was shooting it, and she's like, "What did you do to my bow? I can't shoot this." I was like, "Ooh," and we're at TAC. I'm like,
"Oh no,
I'm in trouble."
You better start adjusting that thing pretty dang quickly.
Let's just rock over here, honey. I gotta crank this out.
But that's the good thing about those is like they're so easy. It's so easy to adjust. It's not like it's hard. You can really do it on the side of the mountain if you need to.
Yeah, they're super adjustable, pretty lightweight, easy to get into. A typical arrow setup for this. So one thing that has gotten me in a lot of trouble over the years is camo fire or Black Orvis.
Oh yeah.
The Blood Sport. This is the Punisher. I have the Black Eagle Outlaw.
The Easton
Blood Sport Hunter.
Easton 6.5s.
These pop up as a price point. A cheap arrow. These are like $40 for a dozen fletched.
Yeah. Yep.
That did super cheap on those things. This is let's see. This one's a 400 spine. For this bow, I'll typically just shoot 400s. If people start getting into longer, I'll throw the 350 spines. We'll talk about spining in a minute. Won't go down that rabbit hole yet. But so again, back to price point. If you're looking to get someone into it for about $500, you can get a fully set up compound bow, some arrows, and we'll talk about releases right now. Because there's two different types. So like this is.
Do you have a trigger?
Good old-fashioned caliper. It's a true fire. It's got a fixed head. Some of these will have different adjustable heads where you can screw this out and it adjusts that length.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a wrist strap. You throw the wrist strap on, Velcro that in, and you can tell this is my kid. This is a kid's release. It's $20. This is a $20 release on true fire.
And it's very easy for people to get used to that because most people have shot a gun that's going to get into this. And so it's like that trigger, that same feeling that you have with pulling the trigger on a gun. It gives you that same feeling with the bow.
Yep. And so to that point, I really have to loosen this up for my giant hands. When you're setting a finger release up, a caliper release, you want to have it. So I have it so it runs along. I think is that your lifeline?
Yeah. With your lifeline that goes up the middle of your hand there. Yep.
Yeah, the two creases here. You want it to land right in here, and if you're right-handed, your trigger is going to be to the inside. Mm-hmm. This one you have to push forward to lock it. So just something I teach everyone when they're learning to draw, if they're shooting a caliper or a thumb button, is when you're drawing, put your finger behind that trigger.
Yeah.
Make sure that trigger cannot move because nothing is worse than punching yourself in the nose. And because you get halfway over and it breaks open.
Same with a thumb button. Put it behind it so that it locks it shut.
So that can't hit you in the face.
Yeah, exactly. I saw a great video of that just recently. It was awesome.
Yeah, it's not fun. I've done it a lot, and I hate it. That's actually why I got my AOT holder because I took a wrist strap and tied it on my Carter. I tied it through that hole in the top because they don't have a great spot to tie a sling, but that's also the trigger mechanism. So when you hit that button, it goes. But my string started getting too short. And I went to draw back, and it pulled. And I punched myself in the face. Luckily, it wasn't on an animal. We were just target shooting. I was like, and that's getting cut off. So anyways, this is a caliper release. It's called a caliper because of the finger, and you can see the two little pinchers.
Yeah. Show us anchor point on that too, because that's going to be something different. You talked about the thumb button here, but
so with a compound, and a lot of it is your face geometry. So for me, I have a big old strong jawline. Even with a finger release, with a caliper release, is I am anchored that same spot in my jaw is the corner of my jawbone.
Mm-hmm.
But with this one, being as I'm not turned over with my knuckles like I am with my finger release, my thumb release, where I'm here, I'm putting the groove of my hand. So I have my knuckles now in this part of my hand is on my jaw. That way it is and everyone's face geometry and things are different, is you need to play around with your anchor point. Ideally you have it, a lot of people will say you want it, first off, for a proper draw length, your front arm will be extended, not fully locked out, because you can kind of see. So if I fully lock my arm out, you see how this is now in the potential path of the string.
Yeah.
I'm rolling that in. You're going to slap the hell out of your forearm. Relaxed arm, see now that this is out of the way. My knuckles, you should be at a 45 with your knuckles on your bow. Hold the bow here. But I notice I'm not death gripped on the bow.
Right.
I'm basically pinching the bow with these two fingers. I'm using the string tension to pull the bow back into the crook of my hand. That's why I always preach shooting with a wrist strap. And they don't have to be the fancy braided paracord. It could just literally be a piece of paracord tied through the riser that you can slip your hand in. That way you feel more comfortable having a loose, relaxed hand so that you don't drop your bow.
That's something I just finally, not that long ago, removed off of my bow, because I needed that for a long time for exactly what you're saying there. I needed that security that I could just hold on loosely and not have to worry about dropping my bow. Now I've shot so much, in, the last few years, I've just gotten rid of it.
I still throw mine on.
Do you?
I don't trust myself. It's just something. I mean, it also helps when I'm teaching classes to really show people, because with that wrist strap, I mean, I can hold and I can literally drop my bow.
Right.
Because your ideal follow through with this is, so you come back, you anchor, and your relaxed hand, because if I'm a relaxed hand, I'm not torquing my bow.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people with the level on their sight pins, they'll try to adjust that by torquing their hand. They're like, oh, well, I got my bubble level finally. But the rest of their body's not torqued like that.
Right.
So as soon as they release, that bow jumps back into position. And depending on which way you were canted, that affects your arrow flight. So that's, it goes back to proper shooting technique on engaging your core and your hips and moving everything from your belly button to level your bow instead of using your hand.
Yeah.
Because even just let's see if I can kind of show this. So here I have a nice relaxed hand. You see how the bow's sitting pretty vertical?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
See how that torqued because I grabbed it? And all I'm doing is tightening my hand. That little bit of torque can cause 6 to 8 inches of miss.
Yeah. Or 80 yards, 2 feet.
Yeah, exactly. It's all, so a nice relaxed grip. One thing will make you more accurate in your shot. Also protects your forearm from getting slapped with the string.
Exactly. So one thing I'd recommend for anybody that is really getting new to this is find you something like this. So this is just a shot trainer. You can get, you can make your own out of PVC and string or whatever. But this is such a cool little tool because you can practice exactly what Ethan's talking about without having to worry about blowing up your bow if you make a mistake or hurting something. But it allows you to really just continue to just practice, well, one, your anchor point, but then also where that hand's sitting. I guess I'm getting away from my mic here, but where that hand's sitting on your grip. That way you just get a good feel for what that is, what that looks like. And again, super easy to do. It's cheap. I don't know what this one costs, $20.
It's also great release practice. So with either one of these releases is making sure it's a consistent, I don't know if you guys can hear the click through the mic.
Yeah.
That click is my release going off. Now you don't want to move your hand again. It's going back to maintaining that anchor point through your release. So being able to just practice your release without dry firing your bow, because if you dry fire them, they go kaboom.
Saw a video of that at least recently too. Have you ever done that, by the way? I've never done that. Have you ever had one blow up on you?
I had one, my VXR, I actually, I drew it back and I was just holding it and I collapsed my arm too fast. So it wasn't a full dry fire. If that makes sense. So like I didn't have an arrow in it and I was holding back. I got a little too far outside my frame and it pulled my arm forward and it broke the string. Oh, it was fine.
Still scared the crap out of you?
Yes, and it was actually the day before opening day of antelope season.
Oh, it's the worst timing too.
Hauled ass back to Missoula, and luckily I'm good friends with the local bow shop, and Casey hooked me up with an old. He's like, dude, I have a bright orange old, like a string I took off somebody else's bow that was less than a year old. I'm like,
as long as it works, I don't care what color it is.
Strings are out like 8 weeks right now, and September's 2 weeks away. So thank you.
Give me whatever you got. But anyways, good little training tools just to practice so that you don't blow up a bow, send an arrow through your wall, whatever you've seen all the horror videos out there, and this is just something that's cheap and easy and saves a lot of trouble.
I mean, my wife's dry fired her bow 3 or 4 times. Just she forgets to put an arrow in it and draws it back and shoots, and luckily she's only pulling like 28 pounds.
Yeah, but so still
the string just jumps the rail and you can make sure it's all fine and get it all strapped back together. But
I've only done it one time, and I did it at TAC actually. And it, just as you're just in the moment and you're chatting with your buddies and whatnot, get up to the target. It's your turn to shoot. You pull back and you shoot, and really, and like, where'd my arrow go?
Whap!
Yeah, exactly.
All of a sudden your cams are all like cattywampus.
You know what?
String's weird.
Mine didn't do that. It shot and it didn't mess anything up. It did knock the tuning off a little bit, but it really did not mess. It didn't jump the string, nothing.
Lucky. Did you see the MFJJ just he took the Lift X and dry fired it?
Oh, did it blow up?
No. He actually it took him 3 shots for the string to blow up.
Wow.
Yeah. So you can get lucky.
Do you think that's luck, or do you think that's the new style with those new mods?
The string blowing up, because typically when you dry fire, the strings that it snaps or it jumps the cables. I mean, the first time it jumped the cable, or actually, first time it didn't do anything. Second time it jumped the cable. Third time the string broke. But then he was looking at it, like, man, I could replace these cams, and this bow will probably tune just fine.
I'm hoping he was doing this in a vise. He wasn't doing this holding it. Oh, okay.
Yeah, he had a vise and like a pull string.
Hiding behind a vehicle.
Yeah, it was impressive. I mean, you look at the technology they put into these bows. Yeah. Every flagship bow, I will say, has most likely been dry fire tested before you buy it.
Right.
That's just that they're checking their tolerances in manufacturing, making sure that they manufactured it to spec correctly. There's no weak points so that it doesn't, because even over time, so like an issue that they're finding with the old carbon bows, now that they're 10 years old, that carbon's starting to wear out. So you're getting inconsistent tunes. You're getting potential weak points where that thing could, this is an extreme, like potentially could happen example. That riser could fold at the handle on a carbon.
Right.
It could. I am not saying I'm not a carbon hater. I'm just a cheap ass.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm even cheap. I kind of just like my aluminum bows. I don't know what it is. Every time I've shot a carbon one, just hasn't felt the same.
Too much noise in the hand for me. It's a personal preference.
That's exactly
too much
it.
Noise.
Yep.
By noise, I mean vibration.
I was gonna say the people. Yeah, it's not like it's making noise, but it's just vibrating in your hand.
Yeah. But then it's not. So we talked about the cheaper bow, right? So the starter bow, and then we have what they call flagship. This is the Lift 33, released last year from Matthews. I am a Matthews harlequin, if you will. I love Matthews.
I'm the same way.
But personally, for me, I like Matthews, and I will say anyone that is out there looking to buy a higher end bow is you need to go shoot as many of them as you can get your hands on.
Yep. And if you
I
go
have a
to a bow
31 inch
shop,
draw.
they'll let you do it. You know, if you go to a bow shop,
Yeah,
they'll like, all right, yeah, here's the Hoyt, here's the Matthews, here's the Elite, go shoot it.
let's get your draw length figured out.
Mm-hmm.
These are the options we have available here. What do you like? And what I look for is, and when I take people into the store to help them buy bows, we say, okay, first off, price point.
Mm-hmm.
How much do we have to
Yep.
spend on this? How much do you want to get in? And understand that when we say a $1,500 bow anymore, that's just the bow. That's not with all the fancy bells and whistles. That is a riser,
Bare
2
bow.
limbs, 2 cams, strings and cables. That's not coming with the rest. That's not coming with a sight. Not coming with a quiver, stabilizers, nothing. That is flagship. But I think the Lift X is $1,450.
Yeah.
For just the bare bow.
Yeah.
Now there are other bows, Elite, Prime. Hoyt has one down the I think the RWX,
Mm-hmm.
and the higher end flagships are they're basically all in that 1,300 range.
Right, $1,300 to $1,400.
Yeah, but you can get some like the primes. They're closer to 1,000. With the elites, I think are somewhere in that 800 mark.
Mm-hmm.
They're all great bows. It's just I had the funding and I was going to do this. But the reason I like Matthews, even when I was shooting my VXR or my Monster, in the draw cycle, for me being a long draw at 31 inches, it's so much smoother in the top end when the cams go to break over, because you can see how aggressive these cams are. So these roll and then they hit a point and they break over to where this is an 80-pound bow and I'm only holding 14 pounds at full draw.
Yeah.
So it allows me to hold longer, get my anchor points. But getting that to break over for me being in a long draw, Matthews cycle better for me personally. I know a lot of people that are in the shorter draw lengths, 27, 28. I'm saying shorter draw lengths like I'm,
I was gonna say, like, that's a short draw length. That's a pretty normal draw length is 28.
Average draw lengths.
Yeah,
like
average draw length.
28 and a half. They actually enjoy Hoyt's cycle better.
Oh,
because
really?
they're in and it's something to do with their cam geometry and riser geometries. Each bow, everyone will have a bow that they like shooting better than the other. So, first when we go into to pick out a bow, it's price point, and then it's shot feel of, okay, how does this feel when I shoot it? Is it super loud, like a lot of vibration coming through my bow hand? Is the string angled nice? And, going back to that, when I'm anchored, is it really easy for me to get anchored and get my nose on the string to where I can have everything just jive? So I'm not fighting in the field, say I got a 300-inch bull screaming at me.
Exactly.
I need to get anchored and get a shot off. Is it going to be automatic, or do I have to think about it? And going back to my brother shooting a triax, where he struggles is on angle shots, because that bow is so short that when he starts to go up and down, he starts getting his string up in this crease in his face.
Oh, wow.
So that's changed his anchor point. Even if he's halfway on his nose, it's changed his anchor point a half inch.
Mm-hmm.
Changes his point of impact at 50 yards by 6 inches.
Exactly.
So that's where I've been trying to convince him to go into a, even, buy like a used Halon or something, get him a longer axle to axle so that the string geometry is correct to come through his nose. So it's automatic of I draw, I anchor, I'm in, everything's centered, boom, shots broke.
Yeah. Should be muscle memory at that point. When that bull's standing in front of you, it should just be complete muscle memory. You've done it 1,000 million times, and it's just what you do.
Yep. So that's where having different size. So like this is a 33. Matthews makes the 29 for the lift. The XS I think is like a 27.
Yeah, I think it is 27.
Because they basically upgraded the Prima.
Right.
But so going back to the, so it's price point, it's shootability in hand, and then if we start to struggle on, okay, well, I can't tell the difference. And I had a gal I was helping, she drew a Breaks archery tag, and she wanted to upgrade a bow. She's like, what do I need to do to kill a bull here? And it's like, well, honestly, you need to be able to shoot 50, 60 yards.
Right.
And she came over and she had this old Bowtech, the old, like, same size cams, 20-year-old bow.
Mm-hmm.
She shot it great. We put it through the chrono with a 410 grain arrow, and it's going like 210 feet per second. Like,
it's
a boom.
Yeah. Watch that thing.
Like,
Goodness.
That's not going to work. So we went in and we shot the Shockey Gen 2 from Bowtech, the Hoyt Eclipse, and the Prima from Matthews. We set them all, first it was like, all right, let's get draw length set up. She was a 25.5-inch draw length. We got that adjusted. And then it was the poundage of poles. And she has some shoulder issues. So we were shooting for like 48 to 50. We had the Shockey and the Eclipse both at 48. The Prima, because Matthews had their, they basically just took the VXR cams and put it on a smaller bow.
Yeah.
For a women's flagship. We had to back that down to 44 pounds of pole just because she was struggling to get it broke over consistently. So we just backed it down to get it comfortable. And, I hate seeing people that are overbowed. And by overbowed, I mean, you go out, they're shooting, and they're having to they're wrenching on this thing. If you can't hold your bow straight out, grab it and draw it straight back, you are overbowed.
Yep.
It means you are going to cause a lot of shoulder issues. You're going to cause a lot of draw cycle issues. And it could be the poundage is fine, but maybe your draw length is too long. I can't tell you how many times I see inconsistent draw lengths. I mean, not to pick on Eva Shockey, her draw length's like 2 inches too short.
Really? I haven't even paid attention to hers.
Look on our Instagram page and see when she's shooting. Her bow arm is like this.
Ugh.
Her string geometry is she's shooting her bow is way too short. And I don't know if that's, maybe she has some type of medical thing going on where she can't
maybe
that's all she can extend the arm. I don't know, but just on the outside looking in, her draw length is too short. Or you'll see girls too, they start doing this stuff. If you're leaning back like this, your draw length's too long.
Right.
If your spine's not straight up and down, in line, your shoulders are out, and you can draw that bow, and the knock of the arrow should be right here in the corner of your mouth, your draw length's wrong.
Yep.
If you're having to do this or this, your draw length's wrong. It's just a matter of fact. Quit being prideful and saying I have 29, I have a 47-inch draw length, whatever. Shoot your bow correctly.
Exactly. And
you can tell, like, you get those things corrected, all of a sudden your accuracy is going to start getting a lot better. Like for a long time, and it changes. I mean, with my finger release, I'm more comfortable at a 30.5-inch draw because of the geometry of the release and the way I have to hold it is it's here. But with
I'm the same way.
My thumb, it adds about a 1/2 inch to an inch going to a thumb because I want to get back to this anchor point again. And it's still, I have a little bit longer D loop when I'm shooting thumb versus when I'm shooting caliper.
Right.
That's just little preferences, things that change. Don't expect to be able to grab. Now, granted, I could probably do it because I do it a lot, but if you're just getting into it, don't expect to grab a cheap release and a $250 release and shoot them the exact same.
Right.
They're two completely different styles, two completely different mechanisms, and two completely different draw points and anchor points. Now that, if you learn how to shoot, like Dudley's really good about talking about how he's setting bows up for guys that are shorter draws than him, and he's collapsing his scapula, he's changing things, but he's still maintaining a rough, straight geometry.
Exactly.
And that, I can shoot anywhere from, I sighted my brother's bow in for the most part to get him close enough to get started, and that's 3 inches shorter than my draw. So but that's all just knowing that I can, instead of here, I can collapse my scap.
Yeah. It's more, just
I'm
tucking
not
in
doing
here.
this. Yeah.
Well, and I think it's important to know, like, I don't want anybody getting overwhelmed by all this because it is a lot. There's a lot to it, which is cool. That's the fun part about archery is there's a lot to it, and you can break down a lot. I mean, Ethan's talking about it. Like you can go from a $20 release to a $250 release. I mean, there's a lot to it. But the cool thing about it is you can go to your bow shop, and they're going to help you with these things. I mean, it's good for you to know these things. That way you know exactly like where that anchor point needs to be and what, how to get your draw length.
If your bow shop tries to tell you that say you're 5'10", and they try to tell you have a 32-inch draw length, run.
You better be a pterodactyl.
You better be able to tie your shoes without bending over.
I've
I've had a lot of people, and that just means they're not the real easy way is you stand up against the
Mm-hmm.
wall like this, flat with your arms back, measure tip to tip,
Yep.
divide by 2.5.
Yep.
Number in inches divided by 2.5. And I'm a 31-inch draw. I think my wingspan's like almost 77 inches, something like that.
Wow.
Like
You're all
I can
arm.
scratch my knees without bending over.
Yeah. Yeah. You're like a monkey, man. You got
Yeah.
those long arms.
Yeah. I get the guy I'm helping right now look for a bow. He's 6'6", but he's only got a 30.5-inch draw.
Right. Yeah.
Because his chest isn't as broad as mine. So there's all these different things that go into it. And, to your point of we have simple, right? Simple.
Yeah, exactly.
A little more complicated than it could be, because we have the breakdown limbs to, we get into a little more complex, a basic compound setup to the high-end setups to where, I have the Canyon Pounder sight on here. It's a movable sight housing. So my sight housing goes up and down. My sight housing flips away to go to a single pin configuration versus a 5-pin configuration. I have
love
a
that
12-inch
sight.
stabilizer on the front. I have a 10-inch stabilizer on the back, and I hold better at longer distances with this much weight on the bow. The removable low pro quiver, because it says Matthews and it shortens your profile up.
And it looks cool.
It looks awesome. I am a big fan of quivers on your bow for hunting.
Yeah.
Just because that way when you grab your bow, you have your arrows and everything on here. Also why I added the release holder from Advanced Outdoor Technologies. It's a clip that goes behind your front stabilizer. It's release specific, has a magnet, and then also a catch.
Mm-hmm.
That way when I'm hunting, I grab my bow and I go, and my release is always here. I don't forget it in the truck.
Exactly.
So there's so much, you can tell just the difference in the way this bow looks versus that bow looks. You can go, so here I even have, so this is the QAD Integrate MX drop away rest. So I run the cable driven, not the limb driven.
Likewise.
I know Hamskia. Yeah, Hamskia does a lot of the limb driven, but that basically, it's a full containment. I broke the top containment piece because I break things. But I can leave it knocked up, and then as that draws back, as I draw back, the cables tighten, that moves up, and then it drops down and completely drops out of the way so that my hand is not causing as much issue. Because now, if I do have a little flinch or a little bit of torque going on, when that release drops away, the arrow's no longer in contact with the bow, just the string.
Yeah, exactly.
So that makes you more accurate, helps you tune your bow better because you're less interference here than the whisker biscuit or other, full containment type rests.
Right.
So I'm a huge fan of dropaways. I love those to death. They are obviously a little more expensive, but
and you can find some pretty good options out there. Trophy Taker makes one that's pretty, reasonably priced. It's not as cheap as the Whisker Biscuit, but still reasonably priced. It's still string.
It's like $100.
Yeah, exactly. It's cable driven.
It has the same locking capability. It's
so I mean, it's not going to break the bank, and I agree. I feel like when I love when people can buy like the Bear Legit and stuff like that. And you have a fully capable, just take it out and go hunting bow. But it's inevitable. You're going to want to start to upgrade some of these things. To me, I feel like the sight is the rest is one of the first things that I upgrade on a bow, just because it can make a huge difference.
Yep. So yeah, getting people into it, and Casey, the gentleman that did School of Hard Knocks last year with us, he was like, hey, what can I do, to improve my setup? He had an old, like, his buddy gave him this bow for free to get him into it type of deal. 10-year-old bow. He shot it really well. He's like, what is your top 3 that you would, upgrade as you go? And number 1 is always the rest.
Mm-hmm.
Get a better rest because it's going to, like we just talked, it's less impact on your arrow. So your broadheads are going to tune better. You're going to be more accurate.
Yep.
Number 2 is actually the release.
Yep. I'm with you on that.
Yep. So I will go release second before I even start touching the sight, because a lot of people we learn with just the cheap caliper release, whatever we started with. And I shot the same God, I had an old, what was it? It was an old trophy taker. I forget the model name. I still have this release. It's actually my brother's backup now. It's in his pack. This release is 20 years old.
Still working like it's new?
Works like a charm. It's a caliper, but I was noticing I was starting to put a lot more English on it, I like to call it, where I'm swiping at the trigger real bad. Like I get a little target panicky, and I was just slapping the snot out of that trigger and causing a lot of left-right misses. So I upgraded to a better, a different style. I just went straight. I went straight over to the dark side and did handheld. But I didn't start with the Carter. I started with, I think my Scott's in here.
I was gonna say while you're grabbing that, like I shouldn't say, yeah, I did. I loved my trigger for a long time. It was great. But as soon as I made that move to a thumb button, a handheld release, my accuracy went up so much. So to your point of like, okay, you change the rest out first, which I think is huge for accuracy. But next, it's I 100% agree with you that the release can make all the difference in the world.
Yeah, take away the mechanical function, and now we need to improve the human function. This is the Scott Pursuit.
Oh yeah,
$110, lower end of the price point for a finger. I shot this release for 3 years, and I still have it. It'll go in the pack as the extreme backup. I own 3 of these, but I'm a gear whore because I needed different colors.
Well, and you can set them up different too. I mean, they're easy to adjust too, but you can set them up a little bit different. They feel a little bit different. And I'll be honest, Ethan, I don't know if you're like this, but so I've got a couple here. I've got the Nock On. I think this is the Nock to it, and then I've got the Ultra View UV1. Or not UV1. What is this? Is it just a UV thumb button? Yeah, UV thumb button. Anyways, like there'll be days when I've been shooting my UV for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then I just cannot get the accuracy in. I'll switch to my Nock to it, and all of a sudden, boom, I'm just like clockwork, just boom. So I don't know if you had that.
I'm a little different in my approach to it. I mean, I know a ton of people that do that. Like, hey, I'm shooting like crap with this release today. I switch back to either the back tension or to just a different handheld, and I'm shooting lights out, which to me just means you're not paying attention to your other anchor points.
Yep.
Because honestly, if those anchor points are right, this doesn't matter.
It should. Yeah, exactly.
It shouldn't matter. So what I tried for me personally is all of my backup releases that are in my pack are the same release that I shoot. So that's why I have 3 of these. One of them is still on a mountain in Arizona somewhere. So if someone in Unit 8 finds a bright red Carter 2 Simple, please, I would like that back.
I've said that so many times on this podcast. Like, if I can give you any advice, carry 2 releases, because it's inevitable. You're going to leave one on the mountain.
Dude, so we were actually, we went up to this spot, and I had clipped this on. The nice thing I like about not having it tethered is I can buckle it on the D loop when we're in setup, and it's just there. I can just have my hand free to range. And it must have just came unclipped when I got in or out of the truck or something. And I didn't realize I didn't have my release until the next morning. And we're driving, and because I bought a new one, I had to send this one in to get the springs redone after 2 years. Because the spring was starting to wear out, so I picked up another one, and I threw this one in the truck when we went antelope hunting, and then I lost it in the truck. Like, I knew it was in the truck before we left for Arizona, so I didn't leave Montana without 2 releases. I just didn't know exactly where this one was. There's 2 bulls bugling from the truck, and I'm like, shit, tearing it apart, and I look under my seat, and I just see this barrel. Just that black knob sticking up between the seats. I'm like,
hallelujah.
Let's go elk hunting. But yeah, packing multiple releases is, about a guy that I mentored this year. He was out hunting in an area, and he messages me. He's like, hey, I just had a release issue. How can I fix this? I had a pin or something come out. He sends me a picture, and he's missing the entire head.
Oh, geez.
I'm like,
go to the pro shop
in this town that's like 35 minutes away. They will probably have something.
Yeah, something that you can use. Yeah.
So you're not driving back to Missoula to get a new release because
that's terrible.
We had Coulter Wall tickets. He was trying to convince me, like, hey, can I pay you to come bring me your release and then we can go hunting? I was like, dude, I'm going to a concert with my wife. I'm sorry, dude. I've already killed my bull. Not to be that guy, but I'm going to be a little selfish this weekend and just enjoy time with my wife. But yeah, he's like, how do I fix this? And I was like, there's, unless you still have the head and somehow find that pin, you can't.
Yeah, it won't.
There's no.
And
no
the chances you finding that are slim to none. Not going to happen. Sorry, dude.
And that's, my brother actually had one. It was a finger release, but it had it had a double.
Oh, yeah.
It's a Scott, I think. And it was cool because it was a 2-set. It tried to keep you from slapping the trigger to where if you squeeze, you'd get a first click and then a second click.
Yeah.
It helped him with his target panic. But then we were shooting and the head fell off. We were at Mountain Archery Fest up here at Blacktail, and the head actually, like this, because it was just a set screw, and the set screw had backed its way out, and it fell out, and we lost the screw. We had the head,
because
he went to pull, like he, clicked it on, and then he went to pull, and the release just, like, the head stayed on his D loop, and he's like, "What the hell just happened?"
That's ridiculous.
Now he shoots a handheld, and I like releases that are going to stay together. So like the Too Simple is a fully encased, I'm not going to lose something.
Exactly.
Even this old-fashioned caliper is like nothing's cased. It's solid.
Yeah.
You want to have something that's solid, in my opinion, of keep it simple, stupid.
Exactly.
Right? Less things that can go wrong, the better.
Hey, Ethan, I want you to do something for me. For those people that are watching on YouTube, it kind of went blurry for a little bit when you had your bow up there. Can you bring your lift back up so that people can see it? Because you were saying, like, looking at this bow, it's so much different. So just kind of give people an idea of what's on it.
Yeah.
Just because, like I said, when you're showing it, it kind of got blurry. So
got it. Yeah, no. So like we'll do a side-by-side comparison of, a $300 bow versus a $1,500 bow with $1,500 worth of stuff on it. I mean, you look at the riser designs, it's well balanced, lightweight. Matthews.
Yeah.
The lift is the 33 is 4.3 pounds.
It's crazy.
It's insane. The 29 is actually under 4 pounds as a fully aluminum bow. Super aggressive cam system on it. Parallel limbs. The riser on this, the riser length is actually longer than the axle to axle.
That's so crazy.
And they started screwing around with that with the V3 and the V3X because they realized that axle to axle length, because everyone's like, oh, longer axle to axle, the more stable your bow. Matthews went and said, I bet it's actually the riser, not the axles.
Right.
So they actually started to go truly sub-parallel, where the lift is actually, I would call it parallel. I wouldn't call it sub-parallel. And by that, I mean the top of our riser and the center pin of the axles are roughly the same elevation, same plane.
But I think it's still more than the VXR is. Like, it looks like
the VXR is still slightly canted up.
Yeah.
The V3 and the V3X were actually sub-parallel. So this is almost a parallel limb bow. I would say it's more close to a parallel limb than either a sub than being sub-parallel.
Yeah.
Okay, we've gone down so many rabbit
holes. I know, we
need to talk on. Let's do. You had questions on arrows and broadheads, right?
Well, I did, but I'm actually kind of what I'm thinking, Ethan, is, and I don't know if you're down with this or not, but I'd like to kind of maybe just do another one. Well, actually, I'd like to do a couple more, like one just on arrows and broadheads and tuning and nocks and lighted nocks and all that kind of stuff. And then what was the other one I was thinking of? Gosh dang it.
I mean, we could do a full one on sights for
oh, yes. Sorry, that's exactly what I was just barely thinking was sights, because there's so many different styles and ways to do it, and for different settings too. Hunting's different than attack competition. Like how that setup. Well, I guess it can be exactly the same, and it can be different. So I was thinking doing a podcast just specifically on those. So kind of for this one, what I'd love to do is kind of, how long have we been going now? An hour and a half.
An hour and 20 minutes.
Not bad. It's kind of wrap up, because I really want this more like for someone, because we've been talking about getting into this, and no, well, maybe some people might go out and just buy the brand new Lift X or the RX9 and just drop $2,500, and hey, if you can do that, more
I want
power
to try
to
it
you.
once.
Yeah. But for those that aren't, I think, this, I want to keep this kind of for those that can't do that. So staying on like a little bit more budget friendly, getting into this sport.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I was hoping to actually have, Jed and I just bought 2 used halons off of Facebook Marketplace. So the used bow market can be a huge
Oh, it's a good
way
idea.
to get a good bow.
Good idea.
Now, granted, these bows we got them, I took them directly to my bow shop because we're giving them to, a buddy of ours helped us work the booth. We gave him one of them as payment. And then the other one, we're trying to get another guy upgraded and back into archery. And it's Jed's brother. So we're kind of helping out a family member there. But we took the bows. They're like, are these okay?
Yeah.
Are these, and you can even do it at home, just run your hands over. It's a little easier to show on my lift. Run your hands down the limbs, make sure there's no catches, look at the riser, make sure there's no cracks, obvious damage. I mean, it'll be fairly obvious if a bow is damaged. Chipping paint typically is hey, there may have been an impact here or something's wrong. So you can kind of look at that area a little bit more. Checking your string. This one, I haven't waxed it a ton, but the string's still in relatively good shape, except for, we got a little fraying here, but I don't max this bow out at 70 pounds anymore. The string's fine. Check out your cams. Make sure your cams aren't like bent, cattywampus.
So this is a good point though. Like, talk to us a little bit about maintenance. Like for you, for maintenance for a bow, because you just brought up like string wax and stuff like that. Like if someone buys that bow right there and they start shooting, they shoot 1,000 shots, they finally got it dialed in, and they're getting pretty comfortable with it. But I think people need to know what that maintenance looks like too.
Yeah. So the maintenance part of it, which is a huge part of it, because it's all friction, right?
Exactly.
Archery is motion and friction. So part of the reason why I don't like, I say I upgrade the rest first is from the whisker biscuit, is because that is fibers. And as you shoot, and this one is actually, you can kind of see, I don't know how well you can see that in the camera.
It kind of went blurry on me again, so I can't see it worth crap right now. But
the bottom of the hole is oblong.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
So and what's happening there is as you shoot, being as that arrow's in contact with that the entire time, the friction is actually shortening and burning the top of those whiskers. So that's changing your arrow position 50 shots after 100 shots. It just keeps, and then pretty soon you start having, your broadheads are walking. You're having to change your sight after being dialed because your arrow is now launching at a lower point.
Exactly.
So that's where I say upgrade to a better rest, to the drop away, because then it's just completely out of the way. You're not running into wear and tear. But they do make replacement whiskers on this. I just replaced the whisker on my wife's. They're like $5.
Yeah, they're cheap.
Super cheap.
Yeah.
Super easy to replace. Like it's by all means, is it doable to just keep, but something to, if someone is shooting a whisker biscuit, every season minimum, or even, if you shoot a lot of 3D in the summer before hunting season, you need to throw a new whisker on there and just make sure everything is cherry and perfect for your broadheads.
That's a good point. Like you could put a lot of whisker biscuit replacements on there for the price of a QAD drop away, $300. Yeah, you could do a lot of whisker biscuits on there.
Yeah. And it all just comes down to how much you shoot. Like strings, I replace my strings. I get 2 seasons out of a string and I just replace it.
I'm the same way.
We shoot a ton of 3D. I also use my bow a lot for demonstrations. So, I mean, my strings on this bow look in worse condition than they are. Because they've been, everyone's got grubby hands. They're dirty as hell. Like,
do you know what's funny? Is I do that on purpose. So I put white strings on.
Yep.
Just because that way it looks all dirty and nasty. And then I'm like, okay, yep, time to replace. It like forces me to replace them more often.
Yeah. And, for me, I just like having I like changing the colors on my strings like I change my underwear. But,
right.
2, it allows me to maintain, because I shoot so much. I mean, I'll probably put 5,000-6,000 arrows downrange a year through, our educational things we're doing, just shooting here in the yard. I mean, I have my own archery range here, so it's very easy for me to go out and drop 100 shots a night.
Right.
So I will shoot a ton, and strings are typically good for, a lifetime. I think a lot of them say like 5,000-6,000
Mm-hmm.
shots. It's not necessarily a year span, but it's shots.
Exactly.
And as that string, as you keep shooting it, the string will stretch out. And even if you wax it, you can take the best care of your string. You could even go as far as, lessening the tension on your cams and stuff to maintain string life. But if you're shooting that bow consistently, you're going to stretch your string out, and it's going to eventually cause your bow to come out of spec, which then comes out of tune, because it could be, your axle to axle isn't exactly what it's supposed to be because the string is stretched. Now you need to twist the string, get it tighter again, but eventually you run out of twist.
Exactly.
You just can't do it. You need to replace your string. There's a lot of guys that take their bows into the local shop here, and they're like, I can't get this thing to tune. Can you guys do it? And the techs look at it and go, well, everything's as centered and as perfect as we can on the bow, but you're still getting these tears. Honestly, when's the last time you replaced your string? Oh, that's the original string. It's a 15-year-old bow. They're like, put a new string, and they throw a new string on it and bullet holes.
I like your keep it simple, stupid. Honestly, every 2 seasons is just seems like a good rule of thumb for me. Like there are some seasons where I put a lot of arrows downrange. Just whether it's I've got some hunts coming up or I'm doing different 3D shoots or whatever. There's a ton of arrows. But then there's other years where maybe I only do like one 3D event, no archery hunts. So I'll do my my daily, or I love to say it's daily, but whatever it is, however many shots I do a week. But every 2 seasons, I'm the same way. If I can do it every 2 seasons, I feel confident that I'm changing it before I need to, kind of a thing.
Yep. So then one thing that everyone always puts on their strings is string wax. So this is a one tube of wax that I've had for. I'm surprised I haven't lost it, to be honest.
Same way.
But you can see, and I was, I'm going to be a little bit of a hypocrite here, but you can see the line I have cut in that from running it up and down my string.
Yeah.
Wax actually collects dust. Obviously, it's a sticky substance, right? So putting this on your string, it collects dust and it will actually start degrading your string quicker. So that's part of the reason why I replace mine every year, because you need to wax, you need to condition. There's one called Viper Venom. It's actually a waxless string conditioner.
Oh, really? I've never had. I don't think so. Let me see what I have.
I think it's Viper Venom. What? Oh God, what is it?
No, I just have the boning stuff.
Yeah, string conditioner.
Boning, whatever it is. Mine's a wax and string conditioner.
It's a wax cleaner and conditioner, and it penetrates.
That's what I don't know if you can see it, but that's what I normally use.
Yep, the accelerator wax.
Yeah.
This one's more of a liquid.
Oh.
So it's on it almost looks like arrow lube. But it's not. Arrow string.
But it's actually an actual conditioner.
It seals and conditions. Not conditions. What was that called? Let's see. Yeah, 10-point wax and condition. It's a non-wax base. God, where was that one? They have it at Shields. But I was looking at it because it also helps clean your bowstring to get that dirt out of there. And with us being at 3D shows all summer with the dust and everything, my strings get hammered.
Dude, why didn't we invent something like that? I've always I've done wax for 100 years, and yeah, my strings always get dirty and nasty and whatnot. And why don't we think about that?
There is also one out there. There is waxless strings. I think Ghost Strings makes them. I haven't had the chance to use them yet, but it's a different string. I think they stretch a little bit too much for my personal preference.
Oh, yeah.
No matter what, any 10-point string wax and conditioner is the one that I was looking at. But it strips, it cleans, it seals your bow strings so that dust doesn't get in there, and allows, because if your strings get dry, then they start to fray,
right,
etc. So you have to keep them moist at the least. So one thing I did find that works really, really well for cleaning my strings: Dawn dish soap and a soft towel.
Oh.
Warm soapy water.
Yeah.
Dawn dish soap on, just don't tell your wife that I told you to do this, but like the hand towels you use dry your hands, get a warm sudsy going, get it on there, run that up and down a few times. It cleans it really, really well.
That's a
It
good
won't be
idea.
perfect, but it'll be
Right.
clean enough to where, I feel comfortable putting wax on my bowstring.
Do you feel like that degreases it though, and pulls the wax out of it? So then so you got to lube it up pretty good
That's what,
afterwards.
yeah. And that's why I re-wax after I do it. But then
Mm-hmm.
it's at least like, I get done with the show, clean the string. And the way I've started waxing recently, I brought back this groove that I put in it because I was just like gooping that on
Yeah.
there. I put it on my finger
Mm-hmm.
and then I run it that way. So a lot will do a little.
Yeah.
Or a little will do a lot. Sorry, the other way there.
Yeah.
You
I
don't
know what
need
you
a
meant.
ton of this to protect your strings. You just need a little bit, and you don't need to just goop the snot out of it
Right.
because that's gonna do more harm than good.
Yeah, a little goes
As
a
far as
long
keeping your
ways
string clean.
with that. I've started doing that too because I used to do that same thing. Like just take the stick and just
Yep.
get it completely globbed on there. Now, same thing. I put it on the tip of my finger and put a little bit on. And I do it more often. I do very little when I do it, but I do it more often. That way, I kind of have like this consistently. It's staying moist.
Consistent maintenance.
Exactly.
It's
Yep.
not, I need to wax my string for the year. I just need to, glob it on there. So waxing and cleaning your string is a big step. As far as other parts, it's the moving parts of your bow are going to cause issues. So
Yeah.
your cams, I don't necessarily do much to clean those outside of I take it in every 2 years and do a full, I have the bow shop completely break everything apart, re-grease, clean the whole axles, everything. And that's also a good time to get, check your limbs, check your riser for anything that might have happened damage over the years.
Mm-hmm.
It's part of the reason why I buy new bows is the warranties.
Yeah.
Go through your dealer. I know enough on tuning. I do enough of my own tuning to be dangerous and fix things when I have to. But I at least take it into the shop once a year to get it gone over.
Yeah.
Just in case there is an issue, because they're the dealer. They warranty it for me. I got to pay like $25 in shop labor, and boom, my bow's brand new and ready to roll.
Yeah. Yep.
Like it's just a life hack.
Hashtag life hack.
For maintaining my bow and making sure, I'm not going to get out there and all of a sudden I have a limb split.
Exactly.
Which I've had happen, and it's terrifying.
Well, that's the thing is if you're shooting it enough, maintaining it and I mean, as you guys can see, there's not a lot of maintenance to a bow. I mean, cleaning it, just inspecting it. Really, that there's not much more to it than that. But if you're doing those things and keeping an eye on it, you're not going to run into what you're saying there, Ethan, is that you get out there and something's messed up and broke and there's a 400-inch bull standing in front of you.
Yeah. Luckily, I did have a 400-inch bull standing in front of me, and I had a broke limb and I didn't know it.
That's kind of the stuff that makes you want to cry.
He wasn't standing there. He was running away from me at a high rate of speed.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, but still, if he wasn't, that's a bad thing though, is like when you think about hunting, and maybe that's another podcast we need to get into specifics to, well, I guess that's what your master class is for, the archery hunting. But, when you get to that point that animal is there at the yardage that you need, their broadside. I mean, you and I both know that doesn't happen that often, and it takes a whole lot of freaking work to get to that point. The last thing you want to do is for a string to break, a limb to break,
release to break,
something
to go wrong. You to grab the wrong broadhead.
Yeah.
I had a buddy that told me the horror story of he shot a bull with a grouse head.
I've got a story. I've got a very similar story. I had a buddy that it wasn't an elk, it was a deer, and really nice deer, probably like a 180 plus deer. And he had a blunt a blunt tip in his quiver just to shoot bottles or whatever when he was sitting in the tree stand.
There.
No. He said he pulled back, shot it, and he said as soon as he let it go, like he saw the blunt as he let go, and was just like, oh crap. No. And it just smacked the side of the deer and bounced off and
bruised some ribs. Like with this grouser, it killed. He got lucky and he got, he missed ribs and he got penetration and he killed the bull.
Mm-hmm.
But he got it. Luckily it was he made a great shot where he hit it. It went right through the top. The bull died where we could see him. It wasn't because there was no blood. Not two holes. okay penetrate, like enough
Yeah.
penetration, obviously, to do the job. But
Yeah.
it's like, dude.
But
So
still.
typically, my grouse arrows are old QADs.
Mm,
So if I do screw up and grab a wrong head,
yeah.
it's at least sharp and pointy.
I'm the same way. I've got an arrow in my quiver it's one that I've shot grouse with, I've shot rabbits with, and it's just in there for it's actually honestly for that reason. Dude, I love grouse. If I'm out hunting and I see a grouse, like the hunt switches from deer hunting or elk hunting to grouse hunting because I want lunch.
There's a bow bugling over here. Yeah, but there's grouse.
But there's a grouse right there.
No.
There is lunch sitting on the ground right there. A really good lunch. I'm going to go get that
thing.
There's
a year's worth of meat over there.
Oh, we'll go over there later. We'll get him later.
That drives me nuts. But yeah, no, to that point, though, of making sure your equipment is clean and maintained the average, I've been very fortunate in the last 4 years to kill a bull every year.
Mm-hmm.
Between archery, rifle, whatever. The year that I shoot my bulls, it's like typically 10 days in the field, which is hard, and that's not 10 days straight. That's weekends. That's 3 days here, 3 days there, 2 days here. The last bull I shot late rifle was, God, I shot that bull the third week of November. So I had been in the field almost 18 days that year, including a week off. Like I took a full week to go elk hunting, in which we had 2 potential shot opportunities at the beginning and the end of the hunt that I just, I wasn't able to. There's a lot of time and energy invested in just getting to the shot opportunity to where when you have the opportunity to present yourself, train yourself through, the 360 Sportsman's Master Class, or I did talk to Rockman Games this weekend at Expo.
Yeah.
We will be running School of Hard Knocks Wednesday and Thursday during the day at Rockman Games in Kelly Canyon, Idaho. That is July.
I may have to come up and hang out with you, buddy.
July 9th through the 13th. So last year they opened it up during the day because they're Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday shoot. And they had a ton of people show up after work on Wednesday and Thursday because it's work, and it was hot as heck out. Like it was 105 down in base camp. They're doing a night shoot Wednesday and Thursday.
Really? Oh, that'll be fun.
Kelly Canyon's got the lights.
Yeah. Oh, so they're going to set up a night
course and then throw Luminox on and go shoot when it's cool. Like the last course will, the mountain closes at like 1 a.m.
Right.
But then, so what we're going to do during the day, being as the courses will be set, but no one will be on them, is first we'll start taking, I want to get groups of around 6 will be the max class size. It'll be Jed and myself will be one of your 2 instructors. We'll go up and we'll run the School of Hard Knocks course where we're going to use their course that they have set up, and we'll make it into hunting scenarios of follow-up shots, heart rate shots, the whole, everything that was basically in the 360 Master Class of Intro to Bow Hunting. That's the School of Hard Knocks. We filmed that at Mountain Archery Fest. So this is a way to get your hands on, get the class online, be prepared for what you're going to do. And then you get to show up and we actually get to put those into practice. And the beautiful thing about it is, we can have anyone from rookie new year to you, and being as the whole process of School of Hard Knocks is you sign up for the course before. We typically shut the course signups down about 2 weeks before, just so there's no because I like to get to know you. I like to reach out to you and say, hey, what are your,
where you at?
What's your skill set?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I'm not going to, we'll have a rookie shooting next to you and me, and I'm going to make you take a lot harder shots and scenarios because that's your right? You need to practice going above and beyond. Not saying, Judd's favorite saying is you don't rise to the occasion, you fall back to your next highest level of training.
Yep, exactly.
So if, for me to keep pushing, like everyone's like, why do you shoot 130 yards all the time? You lose a ton of arrows. And I go, it's because I'm automatic at 80.
Yep, 80 becomes so easy.
Automatic at 80.
Yeah, 40 is nothing.
Yeah, I don't shoot at 50 anymore because I blow arrows up.
Right.
Like if
Yep.
I do, I'm picking different dots.
Exactly.
I'm picking a spot. I'm not grouping sub 60 because my arrows are $35 a piece.
Exactly. But you train for that. You prepare for that. So I love that you do that with them, is like kind of meet them where they're at. And so that when you have them on the mountain and you're teaching them this course, they are advancing, they're improving, they're not falling back.
Exactly. And the beautiful thing about a group setting and having it smaller groups, I'm not going to take 15 people out at a time.
Right.
With 6 people, you have varying degrees of skill set. And there's always, I learn from the guys that I'm teaching too, because there's always something in the back of my head that is just automatic for me anymore that I just don't think about anymore. But thinking about it, I go, wow, I'm not paying attention to that. I need to start paying attention to that.
Yeah.
Or someone else has an experience with this that we can all benefit from their, hey, this is something I did. How would you handle this scenario?
Right.
Or how should I have handled this scenario? It's education through conversation, but then also using the mountain angle shots, heart rate shots. Like it's a huge opportunity to get out there and learn how to become a better bow hunter, more effective bow hunter, I should say.
That's what I hope people are getting from like this podcast and whatnot. Like you said, you learn through conversation, which is great. I'm learning stuff on this too. I've been doing this forever, but it's not actually, honestly, the reason I do this podcast is because it's kind of selfish. I get to learn new stuff, and whether people listen to it or not, I really don't care. But I learn new stuff. So you learn things through conversation. So I'm hoping people are learning through this conversation. Hopefully they're doing the master class and preparing, but then ultimately going out in the field with you, whether it's School of Hard Knocks or Hunt Mentor or whatever the case may be. I hope people are really gaining a lot of good knowledge from this kind of stuff. And the tools are out there, the resources are out there. They just got to take advantage of them.
Yeah, they're all there, and hopefully a lot of people can hear about it so we can get momentum behind that program. I'd love to do it in more places. Mountain Archery Fest no longer.
Yeah, well, that's crazy, isn't it? Man, I can't believe that they're done.
A little overextension, I think. Going east, there was some challenges there logistically.
Yeah.
That, they were a great family-friendly shoot. They just struggled getting, Soldier Hollow was typically one of their fuller events.
Right.
But then like up here at Blacktail last year, they had like 112 people.
Oh, really? I was like, I've only been the ones here. Well, I did the Soldier Hollow one and then the one in Beaver Canyon, and tons of
those
people.
Were typically packed.
Oh yeah, tons of people were there. So that's when I was like, man, how are they not making this work? But yeah, I didn't realize the other shoots were that low.
We went to Antelope Butte 2 years ago. There was only 107 people total signed up, and then it was just a massive rainstorm. And like 20 people shot the course total.
Oh man,
they had to refund a bunch. So it's
you can't stay in business that way.
Yeah, everything costs money to run. Like it's, I heard through different avenues in the grapevine, it's for Blacktail. It was $10K to run the lifts.
Wow.
For the weekend. So you got to be able to cover those costs through sponsor. Can't do it all through just sponsorships. You have to fill seats.
Right. Yep. People have to be on the mountain to be able to continue doing it. And I do agree with you. Like maybe too big, too fast kind of a thing. Like try to stretch too far, too fast.
Going east was not ready yet. It was a great idea. Just maybe should have waited a year or two longer. But one thing nice, not nice, but being a little selfish here locally, where I'm hoping I can maybe do like a summer camp here. Our local club, Five Valley Archery Club, actually just had they've for years they've had this chunk of property up Miller Creek that they've leased from Northwestern Energy, the power company. Power company pulled their lease this year because it was just getting too surrounded with houses, and people were flinging arrow. Every year people get yelled at for shooting telephone, like not even like accidentally hitting a telephone pole at this level. You're putting arrows in the top of a telephone.
Oh, geez. They were trying to do it.
Causing damage. Like that's like it's a standing thing. You see somebody, you take their picture and you report them, and get their membership revoked type of stuff. But Northwestern Energy didn't renew their lease this year. But I have Rooster Ridge is actually my back property line, which is a gun club. and it's a big farm field, and they have a bunch of draws and stuff. And I talked to Alton, the owner, and he's all about helping them out. So I may actually have the 3D course
Ooh,
sharing my back fence line.
nice.
Where if we can do that, it'll be, I can even bring a couple targets up there, and we can throw some stuff out to just to do School of Hard Knocks without having. Now, granted, taking advantage of the mountain, because I just can't get that steep of angle.
Right.
And some of that here, like I can get close, but I can't because it's the ground. But where we might be able to do like a little summer camp type deal. I got 5 acres in the back that there's nothing on it but wheatgrass that we could throw up some tents, and
you could still teach a lot of stuff out there, though. Even on that without the mountain, but you could still do high heart rate shots. You could still do follow up shots. You could still teach a lot of that stuff without. I mean, granted,
it's
some
more
of the
fun
shots,
with the mountain.
Yeah,
you can still get the same side hill inclines.
Exactly.
And the shot just might not be as grand, if you will.
Right, but still be able to teach people.
Yards.
Honestly, Ethan, it may be better that way for people to just start out. If this is for more of the rookie type people, it might be a better way to do it than scare them to death on the mountain and be like, oh, I can't do this.
It's not wrong. We did actually have a gal that did School of Hard Knocks last year with us at Blacktail. And I kind of ended up having a hard heart-to-heart with her about, I don't know if you're ready to hunt yet.
Yeah.
And a lot of it just comes down to, are you ready to take that life? Right? And if shooting a 3D, and this is an opinion of mine. If shooting a 3D course, around a couple, and this wasn't like it was this wasn't a tack scenario, right? There was 4 of us that did, there was 4 people that did the course, and then myself. So 5 of us total shooting, and occasionally groups of 2 or 3 would catch up to us and pass us, but nobody was like, hurry up and shoot,
Right.
She was missing a lot by like wild margins at 30 yards and I was like, Tiff, what's going on? I've seen you shoot, like you can shoot. What's going on here? She's like, I'm just so nervous, and I'm just so nervous.
Target panic.
This is targets.
Yeah.
This is foam. Like, it's great to to feel that and understand that. And that's part of the process of School of Hard Knocks, right? Is expose your weaknesses. Where are you actually underprepared, overprepared? And for her, it was the mental mindset of, if I'm making you nervous, what's going to happen when it's time to pull the trigger?
Yeah, exactly.
And having that mental fortitude, like, yes, there's always, that, oh, I'm game ready. No, you're not.
No.
Everybody I've ever played against in, my athletic career is like, oh, I don't need to practice. I'm game ready. And then the guy that consistently put in the work before you in the dark by himself, he's actually game ready.
Exactly.
And he performs.
And just like we said, archery is a sport, and you've got to be game ready. So, like we've talked about some pretty cool stuff today with like new bows and whatnot. But honestly, if you buy that new bow, maybe there is that guy that spends $2,500 on a bow. If you're not going out there and getting game ready and putting the practice in and putting those reps in, I don't care how much you spend on that bow. I don't care how much you spend on that sight and those arrows or that release. You're not going to perform.
Yep. It's even like trap, shooting shotguns. We shoot trap, and the biggest decider in trap is the 6 inches between your ears.
Exactly. Yep.
Because
I'm gonna go do that, by the way. I just did a podcast with a buddy of mine that he started getting into. I call it trap shooting. He says like, I can't call sporting clays. It's got to be sporting clays.
So he's doing sporting clays, because don't call skeet trap, or don't, for God's sake, don't call skeet trap, because they will. The guys that actually shoot skeet will tear you apart.
That's what he's like.
The high-low house. Trap is going away from you, and sporting clays is a whole bunch of
all over the place. Yeah, that's what he's like. You gotta know what you're talking about. I'm like, all right, goodness gracious, I guess I better know. So I'm gonna go shoot with him, just because I've never done it before. So I'm kind of excited to check it out.
It's all in your head.
Yeah, but that's archery though. Archery's the same way.
Archery.
Yeah,
and it'll never be the same every time you go. It's like, what's the old proverb? Every time you go fishing, you are stepping into a different river, but you are also a different man.
Yeah.
So each time you go fishing, it is a different experience, because the river has changed and you have changed.
But isn't that what makes it so much fun? Like, isn't that why archery is so addicting? Is because every single time, because as soon as we're done, you know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to go walk out here, out to my range by my house, and I'm going to start shooting. And it's going to be completely different than the last time I did it. And I'm going to feel different. It's going to impact different. It's just, but that's
a little
so
bit
fun.
more than you knew yesterday. It's slightly different temperatures. Maybe you had a more stressful day than before.
Exactly.
You have more stuff going through your mind, and you need to just learn how to compartmentalize, break down, and get back to your form. And that is mental toughness will outshoot the best bow.
Yep. 100%. Well, man, that's
Case in point, back to Bodie Turner, just to throw that back in there. The comment we made earlier, Bodie's shooting a Mission XR, which is a $150 child's bow, and shooting a 328X with a kid's bow that they teach in gym class.
Right.
Tells you right there that it's not the bow, it's the shooter.
Exactly. It's just like you said, it's right here. It's those 6 inches right there that make the biggest difference. So you're exactly right. Well, man, that's a good way to wrap this up. And any of you guys that are listening to the podcast, I encourage you, watch the YouTube video, because Ethan did a really good job of showing us some really cool stuff and talking through some of this stuff. So, man, you're the man, dude. I appreciate you so much. And this is so much fun. And now I'm like jonesing just to get going on the Arrow podcast.
we'll just get her scheduled to dive down some rabbit holes. If anyone is interested in doing School of Hard Knocks, reach out to us. Right now, it's not on our website yet. You can either email us through our website, redpatchoutdoors.com, or through the 360 Sportsmen platform. You can find me on there directly as one of the instructors, or through our Instagram page, Red Patch Outdoors. Hit us up. I'd love to fill the classes. Like I said, we're shooting to do hopefully 12 people a day. We'll fill Thursday first, and then if we have spillover, we'll go back into Wednesday. So if we can get people lined up, I would love to take some people out on that mountain and get them out there. So
I think I neglected. I don't know if I put your guys' website on the last podcast we did in the show notes, but I'll make sure. I know it had the 360 Sportsman on there.
Yep.
I'll make sure on this one that the Red Patch Outdoors is there. And if I can get a link to the School of Hard Knocks, I'll put it on there as well. That way it's just easy for people to hop on, go check it out. You guys can see it and get signed up for it. We've talked about so much value, and I think that's a great way to kind of end that value is get out there and do it.
Yeah, the best thing out there for right now, if you want more information on School of Hard Knocks, it's old. It's from last year. We still talk about Mountain Archery Fest as the event we're doing it at. The program is the same. It'll just be at a different location, but there is a 6-minute video on our YouTube page.
Oh, is there? Okay.
Red Patch Outdoors, that Jed and I break down what are we doing with the School of Hard Knocks. There is some information on our website as well. Unfortunately, I haven't updated that yet because we just figured this out at Expo, and life. I have some updates to do to the website, but if you reach out to us, we can get you on the list. We can get you signed up. And I can't stress enough, doing a little bit of pre homework, through either the 360 Sportsman platform.
Yeah.
Get, the intro to bow hunting. Huge thing. And, the 2 courses I teach on there, of the intro to bow hunting and the e-scouting course, are both part of the School of Hard Knocks, where it is a full-on hunt plan with you after we do the field day. That way, what hunt hopefully by then, what tags you got, where you're going to go try to hunt. And I'll help you sit down and we'll plan the hunt out as well. So that's just more tools and education out there for hands-on experience.
I like it, man. I'm trying to find that video. Send me, when we're done, send me a link to that video, and I'll put a link to it in the description so that they can just click on that link.
Yep, absolutely.
Cool, man.
Cool.
All right, well, I'll let you back to your day. I'll shoot you a message and get a schedule to do our next one and just focus on arrows so that we can kind of just do like episodes with this. I think people are finding value in this. I got a lot of feedback from the last one we did. They love the 360 Sportsman side of it, but I think when we started talking about archery, people just started getting sucked into it. So
let's get nerdy.
Yeah, that's what I think people want to hear. It. They want to get nerdy. They want to get geek out on this stuff. So I'll shoot you a message and let's plan it and get it on the schedule.
Perfect, dude. Appreciate it.
All right, appreciate you, buddy. All right, we'll talk to you later.
Yep.
See
Later,
ya.
man.
Bye.